Yo, what up, friends? The first ever swing off. It was craziness. They had ran out of pitchers on one side completely, and so they decided to go to the swing off, something we've never seen before. Walk-off home run by Kyle Schwarber, who won the MVP, and I'm a little upset about that. That's why you see Pete Alonso on the right. Shout out my Mets playing right now, down 1-0 to the Anaheim. Oh, Anaheim. Are they Anaheim? Anaheim. Angels, formerly Los Angeles. But anyways, Kyle Schwarber won the MVP that he probably shouldn't, but he put on a great performance in the first ever swing off. 3 home runs back to back to win it for the NL, again going into extra innings. And so, man, to see this in person was crazy. Because first of all, I mean, when you look at it on TV, I saw it afterwards, it looked really boring. And it was kind of boring until the end because they just weren't hitting consistently home runs, and it wasn't like the home run derby atmosphere. But it was electric. The crowd was hanging on every pitch. So inside the stadium, you didn't even know anything. It was just like buzzing. You were like, oh, this is so cool. Ah. And it was first ever. May never get it again, right? So I got to be there for that. That's super awesome. I got to see Pete Alonso hit a 3-run home run. Super awesome. Francisco Lindor starting the game. Edwin Diaz, shout out my buddy. Streams Cal Raleigh, the big dumper. He hits home runs, nearing a historic home run record pace before the break, one shy of Barry Bonds' all-time pre-break record. Will he get to 60? I mean, he only needs 22 more, and he got a whole half a season. What do you think? Can he get to 60, my baseball fans out there? Let me know. I think he has a chance. We could possibly see it. But shout out to him for winning the home run derby. Your boy was not watching that because your boy was at Magic City at the time. Again, just hanging out, having a good time. Mom, nothing crazy. Anyways, so what else did we have going on in the world of sports? We also had the WNBA All-Star Game. I can go ahead and take this off now. Shout out to one of my heroes, Roberto Clemente. Wepa. But I want to show that ball in blood still. Anyways, so we had the WNBA All-Star Game this past weekend. And so you see the MVP there, Nafisia Collier. She is also, on her way to being the MVP of the league this season, having a dominating 20-25. She's averaging 24 points a game for the league-leading Minnesota Lynx with a record of 18-4. I can take these off too now. It's hurting my ears. I'm talking to myself. I don't need to hear it anymore. I know I'm good. And also you had Team Clark, 151-131. Team Collier beats Team Clark. Wait a second, though. Team Clark did not have their namesake. Where was superstar Caitlin Clark? She missed the game due to injury. Also missed what everybody really wanted to see her in, the three-point contest. But obviously she is one of the biggest faces of the league. And even though she is having a down season due to injuries, and even though you can attribute that to many other different things that go along with it that we're not getting into today. We've talked about the racial components and the everything else many a times on this show and other shows on this network that can be talked about another time. We're just doing headlines today. But there was one really big headline for the WNBA in midst of their labor protest. Players wore shirts that said, "Pay us what you owe us." You see it there on the right. Yes, they said, "Pay us what you owe us." And so the ladies, while, again, you have to fight for what you're going to get, what you expect to get in the future, what you want to get, what you think you should get now, what you think you should have been getting in the past. All of these things come together. All of these things. And so the thing is, yes, the criticism of the ladies at this point in time is how can we pay you what you owe when we still owe, the WNBA could say that, or you still owe the NBA, since the NBA has subsidized the WNBA for the past, since their inception, 25 years, they owe the NBA a lot of back pay, right? like a soldier getting his 100% off of PTSD. They owe him a lot of back pay. And as the Wu-Tang Clan did tell us, cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills, y'all. And so the ladies are just trying to get what they think they're worth. Now, are they currently worth that now and in the future? Yes, because the WNBA restructured their media rights deal and got a lot more money. Now, should they get that money right away? I mean, it's not like the NBA is expecting to be paid back. The NBA isn't going to get paid back on this. So that is a hypothetical debt that they're not going to have to pay back. But if you thought about it in that way, would you say, okay, well, they don't really deserve it now? Okay, then you could say let them make a little more money because obviously they're underpaid. Wildcard Mar and his brother Randy on IOW on Late Night did a great job explaining this last night. And I've talked about this before about them being underpaid and having to go overseas. And now, with Unrivaled, the new league and other things, there's more options. But still, they need more pay. WNBA players currently receive 9.3% of league revenue. That's horrible. That's horrible. Mar said it should be around 40%. I would agree with him. I would agree with what Mar says there. The Mars agree. Shout out my brother Wildcard Mar. Y'all tap in with IOW Sports and Wildcard Mar. WNBA players currently receive, again, only 10%. So, but they're growing. And they are the reason that they got a bigger media rights deal is because those players and the growth and the faces, not just Caitlin Clark, but the faces of the WNBA. Is Caitlin Clark one of the biggest? No doubt. Probably the biggest, right? And again, a lot of things are attributed to that, but she's part of the players, and she's pushing for better pay too. The WNBPA has opted out of the CBA, citing working conditions and inadequate compensation. We will continue to update you what happens here. The aforementioned Unrivaled League. 14 NCAA athletes signed NIL deals with the new 3-on-3 Unrivaled Women's League, including the future Juju Watkins once she comes back from ACL injury. Prayers up to her. It always hurts me just to sometimes say her name just because I know the school she's associated with. I love her as a player. I love her as a lady, as a person, but that school she goes to. You know what? Just for her, I'm not going to say anything this time, but we know how I feel about them. Anyways, so yeah, we'll keep you updated and all that, but the WNBA is moving into a labor agreement. There should not have to be a problem where they don't get the agreement done. They most likely will. But it was also said that not all the players showed up for the weekend. Was a major fight weekend. Pacquiao, Barrios, Las Vegas, huge crowd. Comeback fight for Manny Pacquiao, First fight in the last 5 years. I think he fought Ugas. Jordan Ugas. I think he fought him 4 or 5 years ago. So that was his last fight. The comeback fight against Mario Barrios ends in a majority draw. So you're saying, what does that mean? A majority draw means that Mario Barrios actually won one card, and then the other 2 cards were tied at 114 apiece. So we had a majority draw, which means it's basically there's no title change that happened there. Pacquiao eyes potential bouts now with apparently, y'all, Rolly Romero, which would be a serious fight for an actual title, or may run it back with Floyd Mayweather in a fight that only me and other people, like people that watch country boxing, other boxing organizations like that, real boxing fans, may not want to see this, may see it as more of a joke. And I mean, hey, with the ages that they will be at, it's not going to be great. It's not going to be great, but it will be a spectacle. It would be a spectacle. And I love storytelling and I love spectacles, even if it's crap. That being said, I don't want that to happen. I'd rather he fight Romero, but we'll get the opinions from the experts, see who they want to see. But it was a good fight. It was fun to watch, back and forth. Barrios didn't put up as much of a fight as he should. They didn't land as many. They threw enough. They both threw around 450, 500, but it didn't land enough. But anyways, we'll talk about more of that. In the middle, the UFC 318 card, Dustin Poirier's retirement fight against Max Holloway. Tremendous 5-round battle. Holloway finally wins, gets his rectification after Poirier beat him twice in the past. Holloway wins by decision. So that's your UFC 318. And then finally, and by the way, yeah, it was another great fight. Another great 5-round, hard-hitting fight. Shout out to Dustin Poirier. Tremendous career. Salute to the Diamond from New Orleans. Just a great fighter. Great. Then you got Usyk and Dubois. Alexander Usyk is your unified, undisputed world heavyweight champion of the world, the reigning, whatever you call it, whatever Paul Heyman would do. And now Tyson Fury is calling for a third fight. Again, we'll give you, we'll get the boxing champs and see what they have to say about all that. But I don't think anybody wants to see that either, considering what happened the past 2 times. But again, I'm not saying I wouldn't. I like spectacles. I would watch it again. Not saying it would be great, but I think Usyk would put him away pretty handily at this point, since Fury hasn't, especially because Fury hasn't fought in a while either. But we'll see what happens. Usyk does have a mandatory. Alexander Usyk is going to fight Joseph Parker next, but he is your reigning undisputed unified world heavyweight champion. All right, golf. Scotty Scheffler won the British Open. That is his 4th career major, matching Tiger Woods' early career pace. They're on the same pace, 1,197 days. He is also poised to complete the career Grand Slam by next year, the PGA Championship, which he can still do. It's coming up. So if he wins that, he will have his Grand Slam, a rarefied air where not many golfers ever reach. Scotty Scheffler is on a run like none other in the golfing world, and it has been tremendous to watch. Other sports news in the Tour de France. Tim Wellens, won stage 15 after what was chaotic ride. Y'all got to watch the video on this. I saw it. It's crazy. But a stage 15. But Tadej Pogacar retains the overall lead going into the second rest day. In sports business news, the NFL and ESPN have a potential media deal. NFL Network is going to sell their assets, including NFL Network, including NFL Red Zone, to Disney and ESPN. In return, NFL would most likely get an equity stake in ESPN. This move aligns with Disney's and ESPN's direct-to-consumer strategy. ESPN has their new DTC platform, ESPN, coming out. And it prepares the NFL to sell off some of their media assets when they are trying to make more money for the owners, right? They got new labor rights, media rights negotiations coming up. Owner votes are expected in August on this. It is going to happen, so expect it to happen. In the All-American Conference, they have rebranded themselves the American Conference and got themselves a little eagle mascot. Kind of corny, but whatever. They have also a newly minted conference member in Memphis from here in Tennessee. Memphis actually reached out to the Big 12 trying to get into the Big 12 and told them they would actually not take any money from the media rights deals for 5 years and pay to get in the Big 12. And the Big 12 said, nah, we ain't having none of that. But Memphis tried, but they are still in the American Conference now. Also, Tampa Bay Rays in the Major League Baseball will be sold for $1.7 billion to a group led by Jacksonville developer Patrick Zalupski. The deal is expected to close by September. And lastly, football news. We've got a bunch of scandals going on in football. First of all, the NFLPA is having a huge scandal. They've had their president, J.C. Tretter, and executive director Lloyd Howell both resign amid spending scandals, including Lloyd Howell allegedly going to one of those gentlemen clubs that we talked about earlier. Sir, if you are going to charge $750 to a car service and you are going to charge $2,500 at a gentleman's club for what I purport was a business meeting, I would hope at least, if that's what you're writing it off as, because you shouldn't be... Sir, you're probably older than I am. And I've done some stupid things in my life. I don't even like using my credit card at places like that. Not that there's anything wrong with places like that. Shout out to all my gentlemen clubs. But if I am to peruse an establishment of such, I'm using cash. Unless I have to, unless I just don't have any cash, which has happened before. But when it does happen, you know that joint gonna come back like, Ladies in Paradise, LLC or some shit. Like, you already know what it's why? And you claimed it? You claimed it for business purposes. Like that was like you was really going to get away with that. Like you dinner at the club and you just thought you was going to get away. You just thought that was okay. All right. I wouldn't even do something like that. And that's something that I would probably be accused of something I would be doing. And I wouldn't even do something like that. You gotta get your... I don't know. Maybe he wanted it. Maybe he didn't want to be in the position anymore. I don't know. Other scandal football news. Donald Trump wants to bring back the Redskins name. They're already the Commanders. There's no point in changing this back. It's not going to do anything for anyone. It may only just upset people. No, the Native Americans don't want it back. And yes, it should have been eliminated in the first place because there's no need for it. All right, that's all I'm going to say to that. Who was inducted into the Hall of Fame? Look at that beautiful panel of inductees. So, Hall of Fame, obviously very important in any sport, but very important in baseball because there is a line of demarcation that also tends to lend itself to a lot of controversy. Who deserves to be in, who doesn't, who's on the Hall of Really Good or the Hall of Great versus who should actually be in the Hall of Fame. And then especially with baseball, you also have the issues that you deal with, things like steroids and the Black Sox scandal, betting on sports, which we'll talk about a little more at MLB today here in just a second. But, so it's a conundrum when you talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame and who belongs in and who does not belong in. But I can say for sure that all of these people that were elected today to the Hall of Fame deserved to be elected. Let's go ahead and get into it. First of all, let's start from left to right on your screen. Let's see. start to left on your screen. So first of all, we have Mr. Billy Wagner all the way on your left. Hey, he's a Met. He's a Met, baby. Now, he was a Philly for like 15 years before that, so that does hurt my heart. But he was a Met after that, so I got to give him some props. But yeah, Billy Wagner, only the 7th reliever inducted into the Hall of Fame. The relievers are not starting pitchers. They're the ones that come in to back up the starting pitchers, for those of you that may not be in tuned to the baseball parlance. Billy Wagner got in with the 83% vote, although it took him 10 years. And that's because although he was a great closer, he wasn't as great as a Mariano Rivera or a Trevor Hoffman or a Lee Smith. He was also very overlooked because of his shorter stature, but he combined the highest strikeout rate of any pitcher with at least 900 innings at 33.2%, and his .186, opponent average ranks as the lowest in the modern era. Plus his 2.31 ERA and .998 WHIP are both best for the southpaw in the live ball era. So salute to Billy Wagner. Then we move on to the best of the bunch, Mr. Ichiro Suzuki. You see him there second from the left. He is by far the class of this class, no pun intended. He was one of the greater players in baseball history. I know a lot of people think that just because he was a base, on base hitter, and what I mean by that is trying to get singles, doubles, triples, things like that, rather than a power hitter or anything like that, that kind of brought him down. But I think that just makes him even greater. To me, well, I already know. One of the hardest things to do in sports is hit a baseball. First of all, you have to have the proper hand-eye coordination in order to hit a baseball. But also, even the best only succeed 30% of the time, 3 out of every 10. And that's the best. So if you hit 300, you are part of the best. And Ichiro is there. So you got to definitely understand that he is one of the top of the top. And he proved it. 311 average. That's over 300 for his career. That is crazy. 500 steals on top of it. Plus, he had 2,000 hits in Japan. So he had over 2,000 hits in Japan. Let me get my notes here 1 second. He had 2,760. Hold on. Is it 2,000? Where did it go? I lost it. 2,763, I believe it was. Yeah. And then 1,000. Let's see. And then he had 4,367 total hits. So 4,367 total. That's Japan and the United States combined. But he had over 4. So basically around what our hit king Pete Rose had, except obviously Pete Rose did it all here in America. Still very, very, very impressive. Another note. Exactly 2 hitters ever got 3,000 hits after age of 26. And they were both the aforementioned Pete Rose and Ichiro Suzuki. Wow. So that's a list. So even after age 26, he still got 3,000 hits here in the United States. You got to give it to him. He is an absolute legend. Next up on the rotation, we've got CC Sabathia, who has, by the way, slimmed down tremendously. This man lost a lot of weight. So good for him. It looks like he shed about 100 pounds there. I really wish my chat was working. That's very upsetting. But anyways, it looks like he lost about 100 pounds there. But CC Sabathia, even though he was a Yankee and I hate the Skankies, he was amazing. 86.8%. And he was obviously, did not have to wait like a Billy Wagner. He, as Ichiro, both first ballot Hall of Famers. When you're a first ballot Hall of Famer, that means you are among the best of the best, at least in your era, but definitely, usually, of all time. Now, Ichiro would classify all time. Sabathia would definitely classify, probably not all time, but definitely of his era. Sabathia had 251 wins, so he didn't cross that 300 win threshold that used to be the status quo for Hall of Famers. No longer, since we're never going to see that again with all the pitchers going less and less innings and wins not being as important of a statistic. That's going to the wayside. We may only see 200 wins from pitchers in the future. But along the way, he had a 61.8 WAR. WAR is the WAR is wins above replacement, which basically in baseball is a stat that tells you if you compare him to a average replacement player, just a regular average baseline player, over his career, he would contribute 62 more wins over his career than the average player. Now, that's great. Even the legends of the game, the Babe Ruths otherwise, only get to 125, 130-ish, 150, around there. I think 130 or 40 is like the most WAR ever. I don't actually know the number. It's something I probably should know. But he did have 3,000 strikeouts, 3,093 to be exact. And again, he was just a great pitcher. He was AL Cy Young in 2007 and was top 5 times. He was just great in his era among those pitchers. Next up, you see we have representing Dick Allen. This is, I believe, his wife. I apologize. I don't know if it's his wife or I believe it's his wife or his daughter. But Dick Allen was a great player. He played a long time ago, back in the 50s and 60s. But he was a really good player, and he got voted in by the veteran committee. So it wasn't on the regular ballot, but still commendable because he did make so much of an impact. He played with a few different teams over his career. But yeah, really good player. And then finally, you have Dave Parker's son. So Dave Parker, an A's. So if D. Cleasy is watching, the A's fan, he was an Oakland Athletic, a great Oakland Athletic. Also voted in by the Veterans Committee, but better late than never is what the cliche is, right? So again, salute to all of these gentlemen for getting into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Just an amazing career for all of them, and especially the great Ichiro Suzuki. All right, moving on. In other baseball news, there is a betting scandal going on as well as an agent scandal going on. So what's happening? The Cleveland Guardians today placed their second best player, closer Emmanuel Clase, on paid leave through August 31st, while the MLB, Major League Baseball, investigates his alleged involvement in illegal sports betting. This comes after his teammate, Luis Ortiz, was suspended a few weeks ago. Wow, this is only going to explode from here. Two teammates on the same team. This could turn into a spider web of a case that could be very, very crestfallen to the MLB when it comes down to it. But as we talked about on this show plenty of times before, with sports gambling intertwined with the leagues themselves, you're going to have these issues where you have players, coaches, otherwise, that are betting on games, even if you don't want them to, and even if you make it illegal. See the aforementioned Pete Rose again. That's a third Pete Rose mentioned today. If I was doing a monologue on a late night TV show, that would be what's called a callback. All right, what about the agent scandal? The Major League Baseball PA agent misconduct probe, Johan Rojas case. The Major League Baseball Players Association is investigating former agent Yasser Mendez after Phillies outfielder Johan Rojas accused him of pressuring players into signing exploitative contracts tied to Mendez's baseball academy. Rojas claims to have borrowed $875,000 and agreed to pay back a large share of his MLB salary. So just to let you know a little bit more into this, because I did find out about this a few weeks ago, so I know a little bit more about it. What happened here is the agent had a baseball academy, which apparently he did, but he would get these players to invest in it by borrowing off of their future major league salaries to give him money to invest into the baseball academy, which, as you can see with my air quotes, he didn't really spend on the baseball academy. Or maybe he just didn't spend all of it. I don't know the exact specifics, but I do know that they are now charging him in two different player situations. So we'll keep you updated there as well. I apologize, everybody, that I cannot see your comments. That really sucks. I really am very upset that these comments are not working today. I'm going to try to stay updated. I'm going to bring up YouTube and Facebook on my phone. On my computer, so I can see just in case. But we got to keep it moving. Anyways, so with these cases, they're going to do the investigation. They're going to find out that this money was given to this agent. They're going to find out what the agent did with the money and if it was appropriated use of the funds. If not, he is going to get in trouble and probably lose his license. Moving on, salary cap talk. Rob Manfred continues to push for a league salary cap in Major League Baseball, even establishing a players committee, a elder players committee. So basically a veteran like CC Sabathia or some like Ichiro, not that they're on there, they're not. I know Dexter Fowler is one and a couple others, but they're going to be ambassadors. I think actually CC Sabathia is on there. Anyways, they're going to be ambassadors for the league. Well, the Major League Baseball Players Association is not very happy with this and told them to stay away from CBA salary cap negotiations and or talks. So we'll keep you updated there. Obviously, Major League Baseball, the only sport without a salary cap. So in order for them to institute a salary cap would take a whole lot just because of the fact that it hasn't been instituted ever. So why would the players or really the owners have to pay more in the long run? But the owners like it too because the richer owners like the Yankees and the Mets and I'm not mad, can buy more players. But the lower teams don't like that. But also the other thing is in baseball, the lower level teams, the lower income teams don't ever spend money anyways. When do the Marlins or the Rays or the Pirates spend money anyways or the A's? No, get the hell out of here. Let my team win some games. What? No, goodbye. See ya. Wouldn't want to be. I was trying to think of the one from Friday. Bye, Felicia. All right, anyways. Oh, salute, my brother, Skywalker Boxeo. Y'all make sure you type in with Skywalker Boxing Media on YouTube, Instagram, Skywalker Boxeo on Facebook. That is my partner in the boxing world. Shout out my boy T-Roy. Topics on topics on topics on topics on topics. You know we get it in, brother. I'm spitting all day, every day for you and the crew. I will educate you, my brother. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. Everybody make sure you subscribe at Ballin' Buds, BALLAND BUDS on YouTube. Please subscribe. It helps us out there. The algorithm. Also make sure you hit that like button, whether you're watching now or on the replay. Shout out to my producer letting me know the sound is good. I appreciate it. Let's catch up on some Instagram comments here. Barry Earlcastle says, South Park, haven't seen that either. You said you were going to watch that the other day, but you also had a busy weekend, I know. So we'll both have to check it out later and let each other know what we think. Amul says, Mars is close to the moon, but that last comment was if you're sleeping in a field. Oh, okay, cool. Yes, if I'm sleeping in the field. I may go on a sleeping bag just to make my mom. Never mind. Oh, and the moon mammoths, please. Oliver is a genius. I think you're talking John Oliver. I haven't watched the new episode, so I'm going to check that out. All right, cool. Moving on from baseball into the soccer world. Yes, MLS has gone ahead and suspended Messi, Lionel Messi, and Jorge Alba have both been suspended. So what happened? What is the deal? Well, the Major League Soccer chief came out and broke his silence and said that because Lionel Messi and his teammate Jordi Alba did not play on the MLS All-Star game against the Liga MX All-Stars, which they were both chosen to lead. They were ruled out of their next game. So they've both been suspended from their next Inter Miami, not Inter Milan, geez Louise, Inter Miami game. They are suspended for because they sat out of the All-Star game. Obviously, again, All-Star games are very, very important to these leagues, and the leagues want their best players to participate. If Lionel Messi is going to come to the MLS, and the whole point of the MLS bringing Lionel Messi in was to up their stature, up their ratings, up their profile, then you're damn right they're going to want him at the All-Star game. Why the hell wouldn't you be at the All-Star game if you are Lionel Messi? And I love Lionel Messi. I don't even really, soccer is great. I like soccer. It's a great sport. It's not my top. It's not above football, baseball, basketball, or hockey, but I like soccer. But Messi is one of my favorite soccer players because of his greatness. But bruh, or as they say in the UK, bruv. I don't know how they say it in South America. Brother, you got to participate. You got to. You can't just sit out. And even if you were to sit out, you at least have to be a major face. Even Caitlin Clark did this last week, and we talked about it. If you're going to be a face of the league, you got to be out and in front of everything, no matter what. Even if you're hurt, you can't play, you at least need to be right there on the sideline with your face in the camera every 2 seconds. He did not do that here. They have both been suspended. Obviously, it's not going to be for long. They need them to make money, right? So they're going to want them to come back in. So I don't expect that it's going to be more than a day after that, but we'll see what happens. Yay, not that they were suspended, but talking about it. Yeah, I got you. I understand. All right, cool. So with that story, we'll keep it moving on. Next up, we got a couple huge wins this past weekend. So here you see it on the slide. First of all, we will start with the Tour de France. Yes, bicycling. Yes, you're like, what? Bicycling, Omar? Yeah, I haven't been doing the show long enough to cover a Tour de France yet. That doesn't mean we weren't going to cover it. I cover everything on this show, no matter what. You know we're about to cover Beyonce. I'm not even a Beyonce fan. Don't come get me, Beehive. Tadej Pogačar wins the Tour de France. The Slovenian cyclist claimed his fourth Tour de France title, defeating defending champion Jonas Vingegaard. Oh, that was a good pronounce. Look at that. That's my German coming out. I was born in Germany, for y'all that don't know. Frankfurt, Germany to be exact, so I could be considered German. And I just spit a little German there for you. Pogačar in line for his fourth Tour win. So he unseated the defending champion. He even survived a very bad last stage and entered the final day with a pretty hefty lead because the former champion did falter so much. So again, salute to Slovenian cyclist Tadej Pogačar, beating the defending champion and taking home his fourth Tour de France win in Paris. All right, moving on. In the middle, you see Bubba Wallace won the Brickyard 400 in NASCAR. He becomes the first black driver to win a major race on the Indianapolis Oval. Salute to him for that. He climbed out, pumped his fist, and deserved every minute of it. The 31-year-old overcame a tenuous 18-minute rain delay and 2 overtimes, plus fears of running out of fuel late, and defending race champion Kyle Larson on his back in the restart. He was still able to complete the victory, his third NASCAR Cup victory, and his first victory in one of the Series 4 Crown Jewel events. Yes, the Brickyard 400, the Coca-Cola 600, the Southern 500, and obviously the Daytona 500. those are NASCAR's 4 main races. So we will see what happens as we get closer to the playoffs coming up. Obviously, NASCAR is now in a playoff format. They go into the October-November time frame, and they have 12 drivers is how their playoffs are, and the top 12 drivers in the rankings are then set. This I don't really like about NASCAR, but I guess it's kind of fair, I guess, but I don't know. I don't think so. They do it in golf too, but they stagger them by points. So the top in the rankings will have this, and then the other guy will be this many points behind it. So it kind of makes sense and balance of fairness, but at the same time, it's like, well, no, not necessarily, because, yeah, there is certain formulas that you adjudicate those certain points behind or percentages behind, but they're not always on exact point. And there's some times where you're penalized for certain things during the season or whatever. And I don't know. I get it in terms of fairness, but I think that it needs to be more transparent, maybe, because I know that if it's hard for me to understand, and I consider myself to be a pretty smart person, then I would say, and this is no hate, please don't hate me, NASCAR fans, but I would say it's probably going to be maybe a little harder for them to understand. Please don't cancel me for that, and please don't shoot back in the comments, NASCAR fans. I love y'all. All right, cool. Anyways, let me move on before I get banned and canceled in the comments. England, yes, the England women win the 2025 UEFA Women's Euro Cup. England defeated Spain. It was 1-1. They went into overtime and then went into a dramatic shootout that England won 3-1 to give them their second UEFA Cup, Euro Cup in the past 10 years. So shout out there to the England women. What a great victory for them. And now we are looking towards the World Cup next year. I'm super excited. As I said, I do like soccer. It's one of my, I love every sport, so that doesn't really matter. So I do like soccer, but I especially love the World Cup. World Cup is an amazing tournament, an amazing time. It's coming here next year. I'm actually going to plan to go watch a couple games. I may even try to go. I think they have a game or two in Atlanta, so I may go down there, or in New Orleans, one of the two. I definitely want to check that out. I think that's definitely an experience, a once-in-a-lifetime experience, obviously, since you never know when it's going to come back to the United States in the future, although I would hope I wouldn't, be dead in the next 20-some years that it usually takes to rotate between continents. It probably wouldn't even be 20. It'd probably be like 12. But still, anyways, I don't know. That was kind of very sadomasochistic there. What a great word for a Puerto Rican on a live TV show. But anyways, all right, let's keep it moving. We got our mixed bag, so we can run through the rest of our sports topics. First of all, wow, I don't know what I was about to say there. Seattle Mariners catcher Cal Raleigh, who won the home run derby at last week's All-Star game, hit his league-leading 40th home run of the season the other night. Wow, I told you he's going to get to 60. I think he's going to get there. Only needs 20 home runs left, and he still has 2 whole months. Other baseball news, Yankee star Aaron Judge has a flexor elbow strain that will send him to the injured list. He is expected to be back this season. I am a Yankee hater as a Mets fan, but obviously you don't want to see great players hurt, and Aaron Judge is one of the greatest we've seen in our era, in this era. Other baseball news, a Venezuelan youth baseball team will not participate in the Senior League World Series because it was denied travel visas to the United States. I don't think I have to clarify that for you any further. We've talked enough about mass deportations on this program. We've talked enough about ICE on this program. We've talked enough about other things on this program where you can probably assume that that would be the reason why. Now, we will keep you updated. It is a youth baseball team. These are kids. So you have to assume that something will be worked out in the end. But as of now, a Venezuelan, high school baseball team will not be allowed to come participate in the World Series of Baseball because of, I don't think I really need to explain. All right, moving on. If I do, you clearly have not watched this show enough. And if you have not, then I just go back and watch episodes. We talk about it all the time on here. We know that there is mass deportations going on in this country. We know that ICE is participating in some raids that are many of them despicable in terms of raiding people's workplaces, churches, things like that. We've talked about it before. It's one thing to get criminals out of the country. We definitely want all criminals out of the country. We can all agree on that. It's another thing to take a mother and her child out of a church. But again, not going to get into that right now. We're not even talking immigration today, and I'm glad because we talked about that for like 6 weeks in a row there. So I'm glad we're taking a week off from that, but I'm sure more to come. In health news, Kansas University's Bill Self, his basketball coach, released from the hospital yesterday following a heart procedure. Prayers up to him, as well as prayers up to Colorado's Deion Sanders, who as well returned to a campus after an unspecified issue, which actually turned out today to be cancer. So he is battling apparently bladder cancer is what, so I guess that's prostate cancer. I'm not exactly sure, but prayers up to both of them for a full and quick recovery. Finally, in one other news, I forgot about this soccer news, or two other pieces of news. Nigeria in women's soccer, I forgot to mention this earlier in our women's soccer news, rallied from 2 goals down to beat Morocco 3-2 for its 10th Women's Africa Cup of Nations soccer title. So shout out to Nigeria there. ESPN has acquired NFL Media. What? Mind blown. Yes, it is true. So NFL has been looking to offload its media properties for a while now. That does not mean that they're giving up any parts of the actual league, but they are going to be giving over their media, which includes, yes, the most wanted NFL Red Zone. Plus, they will give ESPN Fantasy Football as well as a 10% equity into, 10% NFL equity. So ESPN will get a little portion of equity into the NFL as well. What does that mean? Well, first of all, aside from the fact that Mickey Mouse is now an ESPN owner, what do y'all football fans say? Monday Night Football presented to you, right, by the Lion King. What are we talking about right now? I don't even know. Steamboat Willie. We're going to see what happens. It's going to be interesting. But as we know, right, let's get serious. ESPN already has UFC, already has now acquired WWE just last week. So Disney, the parent company of ESPN, is obviously okay with ESPN acquiring all of these different sports entities. And wow, I mean, if the goal of ESPN is to, obviously in their name, right, the worldwide leader in sports, they want to be able to run sports all over the world. Now, if you own parts of the NFL, which is the biggest sport in the United States by far, if you own UFC and WWE, which are both international, more international type brands, not that football isn't, but soccer is probably the most popular sport around the world, if that's how we're talking about it. But in terms of them acquiring all of these properties, this is really, really going to be good for them going forward. Do not forget, ESPN is having their direct-to-consumer product coming up very, very shortly. And yes, it will be named the brilliantly ESPN. Yes, they have said that they wanted to keep the ESPN name. And so what this will be, it will be a $30 a month service where you will be able to get all of ESPN's linear cable networking without having a cable provider. I am not sure if ESPN Plus is going to be included in that or if it's going to be separate. Word I heard last was it's going to be separate, which kind of make me upset as an ESPN Plus subscriber because I already paid like $100 a year for that. So now you want me to pay another $280 for this. So now I'm paying what, $400 a year for ESPN? No, we ain't gonna be able to do that. We're gonna have to cut back on some of that. But we'll see. Hopefully ESPN will be included in there, but that would be really awesome, right? Because then they get the WWE PLEs, or premium live events, or pay-per-views, as I am want to call them. They will have those going forward as well. After they were with Peacock, now they'll be moving over here, and they're just raking in the dough. I mean, cha-ching. WWE is making money hand over fist selling their properties. They just sold Raw to Netflix for $1 billion. Like, what are we talking about right now? Billions, excuse me. That's crazy. So, I mean, hey, I like it because I like all these properties. I am fans of all these properties. And if they can come together and they can, have a major hold over the sporting world, well, why would I be upset about that? You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, like Fatu. You know what I mean? Shout out Wildcard Mom and Bobby G at the Audible Podcast. Y'all check them out and tap in. But other WWE news, WWE had SummerSlam last weekend, their second biggest event of the year after WrestleMania, obviously. So SummerSlam, John Cena turning back into a babyface, which is a whole nother, BS I could go off on why they even made him heel in the first place. If you knew you were going to change it, which they already knew at the beginning anyways, that he was going to end his run as a babyface. So why ever give him that stupid, dumb heel run that made no sense whatsoever? Like anyone really believed any of the stuff he was saying? You'd have to be a little kid or in a very, very big wrestling fan who was willing to suspend their disbelief. I knew better. That being said, SummerSlam was an awesome event. It featured Seth Rollins cashing in the Money of the Bank to go ahead and beat his nemesis, CM Punk, who had just defeated Gunther. So crazy, crazy main event Saturday night. And then Sunday night, obviously, as I mentioned, right, Sunday night you have Brock Lesnar. The return of Brock Lesnar, very, very controversial. Why? Well, if you watch this program, you know that WWE's former owner, Vince McMahon, has a lawsuit going on with and I'm not going to put her name out there, but a lady that has been suing the company due to improper workplace management. We've talked about it a bunch in this program, a lot of bad stuff. Y'all can go look it up. But Brock Lesnar, who was also involved in those court documents, not charged, but was in those documents, was persona non grata for a couple of years there. But apparently, and I don't know if this is true, if he was cleared, apparently he had not yet necessarily been cleared, but that it was a John Cena request that came per Triple H or Paul Levesque, who said that John Cena had Brock Lesnar as one of his final opponents on his wish list, and they made that come true. Whether or not you think that's right or correct, I will tell you one thing. I damn near popped my head off when this happened on Sunday night, and I was just like, what? I immediately hit up Mar, was like, yo. He was like, I didn't have that on my bingo card. It's like, me either. But anyway, so shout out to WWE for that. Real life drama, man. You know what it is. We're all fans here. In other controversial news, WNBA and dildos? I don't even know if you can say that on YouTube. But adult toys thrown on the floor. You can see it in lime green there in the slide. Thrown on the floor. This is now the second time that an adult toy has been thrown on a WNBA floor at a game this year. The first time, Sophie Cunningham, the powder keg, the hothead from Indiana, the enforcer for Caitlin Clark, came out and said that people were going to get hurt. Now it may be coming out that this may even be like a marketing campaign, sort of, for a crypto company. So this is just rumors and allegations, but that is what the rumors are right now on that situation and why that happened. But let's just be honest: whoever is doing it is just trying to make a joke of the league. No matter if you are trying to market your company, which hey, not going to say that's not a horrible way to do it. Yes, the person was arrested, so hopefully you got some good marketing out of it if your boy was arrested for it. But the point being, like, if people think that they can, because they wouldn't do that in an NFL game. I can tell you that right now, they wouldn't do that in an NFL game. It takes into question how does the broader league as a whole, how does the NBA, how does the general public feel in terms of respect for the WNBA? This would indicate that it would not be as much as maybe they deserve, which would also coincide with the back and forth in the labor negotiations onto if they deserve more money or not. I am all for paying the women. I think that they have gotten it to this far where the WNBA has gotten a lot of pub and they're getting paid for what will be coming in the future. So that's we already talked about that on a different show. But if their own league isn't willing to pay them, the NBA really would rather have nothing to do with them if they could. The general public, for the most part, doesn't watch. I do. I'm a sports fan, love the WNBA. But for the general public, most people, even most sports fans, probably not, unless you're a hardcore basketball fan, right? Or of the female persuasion, right? It just is what it is. But either way, it just calls those things into question. It makes you think about, okay, where does the WNBA really stand in terms of stature? And, do they even, I think they do. Let me state that again. But do they even deserve this sort of, accolades and things that they are getting right now? And again, I think they do. I'm just saying these kind of things, when these things happen at your event that wouldn't be happening anywhere else, well, then you have these questions come into play. Well, okay, are they not? So on and so forth. So again, we'll keep you updated here, and we'll find out if this is actually a crypto scheme or what have you, what actually comes out of that. But as far as the rumors are right now, rumors came out today that they would that this was probably or possibly allegedly part of a crypto marketing scheme. So pretty crazy that they would be throwing adult toys on a live basketball game floor in the name of marketing, and that's coming from a marketer himself. As what I make my money off of. So, we'll keep you updated there, and we'll see what happens, especially with the labor negotiations. But crazy, crazy story there that you have, adult toys being thrown on the floor in the middle of a women's basketball game. Just seems like a lot of disrespect, if you're asking me. All right, cool. Moving on into our next subject. Yes, we've got our power rankings of the week. We've got our Major League Baseball power rankings for the first week of August. By the way, if you did not see our show last week, we have a baseball show that we do about once every few weeks here on this channel here at Ball and Bud. So make sure you subscribe, and as well, go check out the one from last week with me, my MLB insider, Mike Wiebe. We had Amul the Agilist, and as well the Lion Reese Penn from the Rec Room. Make sure you tap in with the Rec Room on YouTube. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into our Major League Baseball power rankings. Number 1, the Brewers. What? What do you mean the Brewers, Omar? Why would the Brewers be ranked number 1 when they haven't been ranked number 1 in the rankings all year long? Well, it's the big, no, stop. 9-1 in their last 10. That is why, yes, the Brewers are 9-1 in their last 10 games and are the hottest team in Major League Baseball, which allows them to be at this number 1 spot. Now, how about at number 2? Who's coming in next? Let me send this real quick. There we go. At number 2, the Chicago Cubs. Yes, the Cubbies at number 2. Blue Jays at number 3, Toronto Blue Jays. And look, they laughed at me last week on the baseball program. They laughed at me when I said that Shane Bieber could be a great pickup if he could return to even half of his previous Cy Young form. Now, yes, we know that he went through Tommy John surgery and hasn't pitched for a year and a half. Yep, got it. Cool. But we also know that 2 years ago, he was a great pitcher. He was an ace. And so we need to respect his authority, put some respect on his name. Yeah, I mean? So, yeah, we got to look at it like that and just know that Shane Bieber could be a key if he can stay healthy, if he can return to even half the form for the Blue Jays looking to hold off the Yankees and go to the playoffs. Now, at number 4, your Detroit Tigers. They were the hottest team all year long. They were number 1 in most power rankings all first half, but then they came out of the All-Star break and had a little bit of a rough stretch there. They are 6-4 in their last 10. Still 66 wins, so nothing to get crazy. They have stabilized themselves as of that last slump that they were having. So we probably will see them coming back nicely in the second half. And at number 5 in the MLB.com power rankings. And again, this is from Tuesday, y'all. So, okay, I'm not taking into account the past 3 days, so don't yell at me, like the Lion Reese Penn from the Rec Room would. I know, I know you know your baseball, but this is giving you MLB.com, and they update it every Tuesday. The Dodgers are at number 5. The Los Angeles Dodgers are 5-5 in their last 10, which is why I just said don't yell at me because, yes, this is not taking into account the past 3 games. All right. Now, when we are looking at these standings, and I'm going to talk about this, or we will talk about this on our next MLB show at the end of the month, we're going to have a lot of good divisional races down the stretch. We talked about this on, y'all check Jersey Boy MJ on IOW Sports Network. Y'all tap in with all my homies at the IOW Sports Network. But Jersey Boy MJ does a baseball show every Monday. I was happy to be a guest there. So please make sure you subscribe and check out his show every Monday on baseball. But we talked about the American League West, how good that's going to be with the Astros leading the Mariners only by a game and a half. We talked about the National League East, obviously my Metropolitans. They were leading the Phillies, and now it's just going back and forth, vacillating between the two. That is going to as well be a dogfight coming down the stretch. And we also talked about how every division had under 5-game leads except the Detroit Tigers in the Central, and that was before they stumbled a little bit the past week. So now we really are at a point where all of the divisions are around, and I want to be exact on this so that I donut. I donut. So I don't tell you, dummy. Excuse my language. So I'll tell you the wrong thing. Yes, for the Detroit Tigers, 6 games above the Guardians are the only division that are still above 5 games between first and second place. So really going to be crazy down the stretch there. Also, something historic to look out for this week. I don't want y'all to miss out on this. And let me make sure I get the right date here. September 6th of 20. No, hold on. Let me see. What day is this going to be? I don't want to tell you all the wrong date, so I'm trying to find the exact date for you, but unfortunately, interesting. They don't have the actual date in the article. It just says that it's happening. So I'm just going to say check it out, but you know what? Let me get back to you on that in just 1 second. I'm going to check that out and check my sources on that and just make sure in a second. Yes, salute my brother, Skywalker Boxing Media. Y'all make sure you tap in with them on YouTube or Skywalker Boxeo on Facebook, my brother. I hope you're doing well. No Country Box this week. It had to be postponed, but shout out Jimmy Adams and Country Box. We'll be back September 3rd. Isaac Carbonell versus William Langston. Going to be a hard-hitting bout. Should be pretty awesome. So looking forward to that. Y'all tune in and make sure you tap in with my brothers. All right. So anyways, as I was saying, in this matchup that we're going to see, and let me go ahead and check the schedule for us just to make sure that, again, I do not want to tell you the wrong thing. So Toronto Blue Jays are playing. It is. Okay, so it is tonight. It is tonight. Tonight it goes down here in just an hour and 15 minutes. Yes, the only two active members of the 3,000 strikeout club, which, by the way, we are never going to see again after this. 3,000 will go the way of the dodo. That's what a great reference that is. But Scherzer, Max, the Warrior God Scherzer versus Clayton. I don't know his nickname, Kershaw, but it should be something like he should have been Thor before Syndergaard, although Syndergaard's hair was longer. Shout out Noah. I hope you're doing well, although I heard you're in minor leagues right now. Should have stayed with the Mets, but that's another talk for another day. Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw going down tonight, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. You're not going to want to miss out on this game. Actually, I'm going to make sure I'm done with this show before then so I can go get some popcorn and settle on in. Cool? All right, cool. Let's keep it moving here into our college football rankings. Yes, you see it there. The preseason coaches poll has come out now. A lot of people, the preseason coaches poll, it's BS. We don't need it. It just serves to, and you're right, it just serves to further the gap between the haves and the have-nots. It serves to further perpetuate the mirage that some of these teams are really good and some of these teams are not good, and that even most of the time a lot of the blue bloods will be ingratiated into the poll, the preseason college football polls, based on namesake alone. So, for instance, in a analysis done by Stassen Analysis, shout out to them, between 1989 and 2023, USC, Texas with a money sign. Shout out to Will Ferrell in that old Saturday Night Live skit on the Jeopardy. Oh, that was so great. But anyways, and my Squad Mob crew, salute. But anyways, between 1989 and 2003, USC, Texas, Oklahoma, most overranked preseason teams in the country. The first one I'm very happy about. USC Trojans. We know how we feel in here, this UCLA Bruin household. So the Trojan condoms can take a hike and kick some rocks. Texas, hot take, Jake. You bum. Hot take, Jake. I can't even call your teams bums because they are ranked number 1 in the polls. So going back to this analysis, they were always overranked from 1989 to 2003. Could we see that again this year, or will we see Arch Manning? Yes, the next iteration of the Manning legacy. Will we see him take Texas to a championship? We don't know just yet, but Archie Manning, grandfather, did come out and say that Arch Manning would stay after this year at Texas and play another year. Now, if you're going to be the number one pick, I can't see how you would do that. That would be really stupid to forfeit that money and that security and being the number one pick and all that. But if he were, let's say, in the top 10, outside of the top 10, I could definitely see that as being an opportunity. Obviously, with NIL money nowadays, it's not as important to go into the league, but being a number one pick is a whole different animal. And then Oklahoma was in there as well. My bad, brother Jay from Unfair Sports. Y'all make sure you tap in with my man Jay from Unfair Sports and them, the Oklahoma crew. If you're a Sooners fan, especially, they provide amazing content. But yeah, so anyways, looking at this, we see Texas is number one in your preseason poll. We also see at number 2, Ohio State. Oh, by the way, shout out to ON3 for this image. This is USA Today Coaches Poll Top 25. Texas number 1, Ohio State, the Ohio State. Let me get it correct. The Ohio State. I have a bunch of Ohio State fans, and they get mad if you don't put the Ohio State Buckeyes. At number 3, the perennial face planters, Penn State Buckeyes. That's Ohio State Buckeyes, dumbass. Penn State Nittany Lions. In fairness, I did just talk about Ohio State. Anyways, I was also trying to use my alliteration. I thought it was pretty good. The perennial face planters, Penn State Nittany Lions. There at number 3. Can they finally be a non-face planter? Can they finally pull through? Can James Franklin finally get them over that proverbial hump? They did win a playoff game last year, so we will see. At number 4, Canteen, my brother. Canteen's Georgia Bulldogs are at number 4 there. At number 5, bringing up the rear there in the top 5 is Marcus Freeman and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Shout out to them. I forgot to send a message to Canteen to share me in the Bottom Line Sports. Send him a message. But I do want to get him and Hot Take Jake and Clubber D on hopefully next week for a little bottom line mini reunion, talk about some football, things like that, where we can give our predictions on the upcoming season. Shout out to everybody watching on Instagram. Obviously, the lovely and wonderful Jennifer Jones. That is my girl. Shout out. Sorry we missed each other with no country box this week, but we've been chatting, so it's been okay. Shout out to you. Thank you for watching as always and supporting the channel. Carlos Reyes, shout out, my brother. I hope you are doing well there on Instagram. Y'all make sure you check him out. Boxer there from Arizona. All right, cool. Anyways, so as I'm saying, when you are looking at the college football preseason, coaches poll, you need to take it with a grain of salt, because a lot of times whatever they are ranking people within the preseason is not just a lot of times. The majority of the times, this is going to be all the time, it's going to be so vastly different that it's not really going to look like this at all. Now, there are obviously some of the teams in the top will remain in the top because they are good, like Texas. I do believe Texas will be in the championship this year. There's a little spoiler for you for that Bottom Line Sports episode. I know Hot Take Jake was wondering who I was going to pick for my college football team this year, since I have the professor, your boy, the sports professor, has gotten it 2 years in a row correct. I had Michigan the first year of the playoffs. I had Ohio State last year, both right on both accounts. Now, this year, I am down to the Texas Longhorns, and yes, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Will I really choose the Penn State Nittany Lions, the perennial face planters? You just gotta check us out at our at Ball and Buds, BALLANDBUDS. Again, probably do that show next week. I'm going to try to get them on for a little bottom line sports reunion. So again, y'all make sure you tap in, subscribe to Ball and Buds. There's a handy QR code right up there up top. You hit that, you subscribe to Ball and Buds on YouTube. You'll stay up to date with all of our shows. Hit that like button if you're watching now. I really appreciate it. Or on the replay. It helps us out in the algorithm. Cool. So there you go. That is the top 25 college football rankings. Who do you got in your top 25? Who do you got as your college football playoff champion this year? Let me know. Drop it in the comments. I'll go back and forth with you, and we can argue college football all day long. Also, how do you feel about the other stories? How you feel about Brock? How you feel about the WNBA dildo controversy? You got to check it out. I don't know. You let me know. All right, moving on. So, little bit of mixed bag here. First of all, yes, football fans. Yes, indeedy. NFL football is back. Woo! Yeah. Woo! NFL football is back. The preseason has started. Hall of Fame game drew nearly 7 million viewers. Wow. 7 million viewers for an preseason game. So that's more than the NHL and NBA All-Star games had. So what do you say to that? Pretty crazy that an NFL preseason game can get so many fans viewing. But the NFL does a good job of building tension, of making you wait, but building it up throughout the offseason that you have certain milestones like the draft, like the schedule release. They do that on purpose. It's marketing, y'all. It's drip marketing to get you salivating throughout the offseason until you get to the real deal. And yes, we are getting to a real deal in just a few weeks. I personally can't wait. If you're playing fantasy football, let me know. I'm down to join some leagues, or maybe you might want to join my league. I got a couple spots in a league, blind draft. So it makes you have to use a little more skill and intelligence. But anyways, fantasy football, love it. Shout out to my 703 boys. We are taking our fantasy football draft trip to Vegas. Yeah, we going back to Las Vegas in just a couple weeks, and it is going to be amazing. Yes, we are going to have our fantasy football draft there. Shout out to all the 703 boys. Y'all know Clubber D. You don't know anybody else that's going to be there, but you do. Oh, no, you do know Clutch B from one of our shows. So shout out to them. But yeah, NFL is back, and I know everybody is looking forward to it throughout the preseason, throughout the year. One other thing we got to look forward to as well, tomfoolery. Via whom? Via Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, or, I don't know, some people would say not, because they haven't won in 30 years. But Jerry Jones, as always, another offseason of him completely bumbling negotiations with one of his star players. It was Dak the first year, then it was CeeDee Lamb last year, and now it is Micah Parsons. Excuse me, sir. Micah Parsons is the second coming of Lawrence Taylor. There's no way on God's green earth you would be stupid enough to trade Micah Parsons. And you told Dallas fans, oh, don't worry about this at all. We get worried when, and not we, I'm not a Dallas fan, so I don't care that much. I care more as a businessman myself, when you're completely wasting unnecessary money. You are going to have to pay the man. Why are you waiting? Every year, the same shit. Every year, I say the same thing. Tomorrow's price is not today's Price, Jerry. Little Seinfeld for you. Micah Parsons' price is going up every day. And his price is pretty substantial already. So just pay the damn man. Stop fooling around, yo. We ain't got time for this. Nonsense, man. Don't you want to win? You old? Don't you want to win? Well, try to win, as Mar would say. Don't you want to win before you croak? I'm not saying that. He's old. I mean, try to win. Anyways, moving on. NBA news. De'Aaron Fox has signed a $229 million deal to stay with the Spurs. He is going to stay with Wembanyama and make a nice tandem there. So that team is looking really, really good for the future, set up for the future. And Dame Lillard signed for $42 million to go back to Portland with his Trailblazers that he just left a couple years ago. And he is also becoming the general manager of Weber State, his alma mater. Yes, we've got to remember, y'all, with NIL now, colleges will be hiring and installing general managers like professional sports to handle all of the finances, to handle doling out contracts and money and things like this. So this is going to become commonplace. And right now, a lot of people that have been hired for these GM spots are former players from the school. You'll remember the first time we mentioned this on this program and on the Bottom Line Sports when we were on there was when Andrew Luck became the GM at Stanford for the sports. So remember, this is going to continue to happen. This is the next installment, the next era of college sports. And I must say myself, as a person who completely has derided amateurism and the BS, that facade that amateurism provided for over a century, and how disorganized, disloyal, and dysfunctional, and how the NCAA is one of the most corrupt organizations of all time. I'm all for the kids getting paid. So go get that cheddar, go get that guap, get that whatever it is that you need to get, my friends. Cool. All right, couple more notes here in the sports section. Soccer news. Let's get to some soccer. The MLS Major League Soccer has a huge transfer coming in. Korean superstar Son Heung-min will be transferring from Tottenham in I believe Tottenham is in UK, in England, for $26.5 million transfer, the biggest transfer ever for an MLS player, even over Lionel Messi, who came in a couple years ago. This is already bringing a lot of publicity to the MLS, as you would assume, sort of like the Ohtani effect had on Major League Baseball when he came over to play for the Angels. Now, Son Heung-min, interestingly enough, picked LA and the MLS over Saudi's offer. So you'll know if you watch this program, Cristiano Ronaldo plays in Saudi Arabia right now. So Saudi offered him $65 million for the transfer, and he said no. So he is going to be coming here to, peddle his wares in the MLS, and we will see how much that actually pays off for them. As we've seen, most of the time this pays off. You can go all the way back to when this really, first started happening back in the 90s when MLS and they first started. If y'all remember this, they brought in, it was like in the 90s, they brought in like a old broken down Pele, if you're Spanish. May he rest in peace. Then there was like the David Beckham era, bend it like Beckham, right? So we've seen this over and over, Zidane, these players that come here to the MLS, for the MLS trying to have a higher profile. Completely understandable. Why wouldn't they? They should. These are good investments to bring the league and bring soccer into a bigger purview in the United States. Not that it's not ready. It is. But as I mentioned earlier, NFL is a way bigger sport than soccer here, or football if you're living outside of the United States or North America. No, they call football in Mexico. So probably not Canada, though. So if you don't live in Canada or United States, you probably call it football. But soccer is what we call it here. And in the United States, if I had to guess, let me give a quick rankings from what I know from numbers. NFL clear the number one sport. Here is the sports professor's top 5 United States sports, just so the short could get me there starting. Number 1, the NFL, far and away. We just talked about it earlier. 7 million viewers for a preseason game, more than the NHL and NBA All-Star games. NFL is number 1 in the United States, no doubt about it. Number 2 is the NBA. NBA is number 2 in, and then when you get to like number 3, number 4, you're getting to Major League Baseball. But Major League Baseball did slip for a while there. But then you'd be looking at the NHL, and then you start to get into your soccer, your tennis, your golf. Golf would probably be in the top 5, actually, if I had to say, probably the PGA or something like that, since well, obviously the PGA, since a lot of people play golf in general, and especially a lot of older folks. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there, but pretty crazy there. Also, in soccer news, we want to give a huge shout out to Trinity Rodman. Yes, came back. Obviously, she's dealt with injuries in her career, other things like that. 4-month break, came back and scored the game winner. So shout out to one of the best women's soccer players on the planet, Trinity Rodman. Lastly, we did talk about the NBA earlier and just came out a couple minutes ago. I give y'all the breaking news on here. Just came out a couple minutes ago. NBA Christmas Day games plus opening night. So let's see. The first NBA game on NBC. Remember, NBC got back the rights to the NBA, which is now going to be going away, as we remember, from TNT, as we talked about, like Inside the NBA moving to ESPN, things like that. So the first NBA game on NBC in 23 years will feature the defending champion Oklahoma City Thunder against I'll have to tell you in a second. That's a tease for you. How about we start, though, first with the Christmas Day game. Number 1 in that spot, Cleveland Cavaliers at the New York Knicks. You also have Houston Rockets after trading for the Slim Reaper, easy money sniper. KD, Kevin Durant, will play LeBron, Luka, and the Los Angeles Lakers. As well, the Dallas Mavericks, Luka's former team, will play Steph, Draymond, Jimmy Butler, and the Golden State Warriors. As well, Minnesota Timberwolves will play the Denver Nuggets, Anthony Edwards versus Jokic. And then finally, back to the game I teased earlier, Oklahoma City Thunder will play the San Antonio Spurs. Yes, the aforementioned young bucks coming around in the league. Now, don't forget, though, NBA now competing with the NFL. The NFL has encroached on NBA territory. We're going to see it again this year. Christmas Day games, the Cowboys, the aforementioned America's team, Dallas Cowboys, America's team, will play the Washington, D.C., shout out my home, Washington, D.C. Commanders. And then the Lions, it's a triple header, my apologies. The Lions, Detroit Lions, and the Minnesota Vikings will kick it off at 4:30. And then the Broncos and Chiefs will play at 8:15. A little hot take Jake Wildcard Mar action there. So that is your Christmas Day NBA versus NFL, games. So that's going to be the competing games that we're going to be seeing. It's going to be, again, look, man, it used to be the NBA's day, and the NFL just came in 2 years ago, had Christmas Day games, and completely took it over. Just had more fans than the NBA did right off the bat. So that proves, going back to what I just said to tie it all back in, NFL is the number one sport in America.
Subscribe on YouTube at Ball and Buds.